All right. So my name is Aida. I grew up in Tottenham. I was born at, if you don't know where I was born at, where was I born? North Mid Hospital, that's the one, North Mid Hospital. And most of my life I spent in Tottenham. So I grew up in Great Cambridge Road, I think I lived at. And then I moved to Tottenham Hale area around 3 or 4. I've been living there ever since. So I went to Ferry Lane Primary School. I went to Hornsey School for Girls, sixth form, which was interesting. An all-girls, not sixth form, sorry. Hornsey School for Girls school, secondary school, and then I went to sixth form. So I stayed there for the whole, however many years that is. And then I went to university. I went to Royal Holloway University in Egham. Studied media arts. And all that time I've always been into art. So I've been into filming and like physical portraits and making things and drawing, all that kind of thing. So that's basically, I think, my life. Straight from uni, I went to work and I basically got the job from contacting my old media teacher from school. And then he told me about this position that at a place that he's working at another school. It's a college that is based around the industry. So it's from ages 14 to 19, and they basically focus on like media, hair and makeup, sound and lighting design, that kind of thing. I was like, yeah, that sounds really cool. And then the second year, which is basically, it would be this year, I started becoming a teaching assistant. So I thought teaching assistant would be fun, and it was, I can't lie. I mean, I had loads of jokes in the classroom, that kind of thing. But then it came a problem where you have to teach kids how to read, and some of these kids are like 17 and they don't know how to read. And I was like, I'm not qualified to be doing something like this. So I told myself, yeah, I'm gonna do this job until the end of the academic year, which would have been this like July, I guess. And it got to like December time, and I was like, no, I can't do it. It was the Christmas holiday. And I started discovering string art, and I was like, I can't be in that place anymore. I went there a few times. Every morning I'm dreading waking up, traveling all the way to Boreham Wood, and it was long. So I just got to a point where I was like, you know what? I can't. So I read the book called Who Moved My Cheese? And one of the quotes that stuck with me in that book was, what would you do if you weren't afraid? And so every time someone asks me a question about like if they should do something, and I asked them, what would you do if you weren't afraid? Like, if there wasn't a fear within you, what would your decision be? And so one day I was complaining about my job, as always, and then my boyfriend asked me, what would you do if you weren't afraid? And I was like, damn, I have to go. That's it, I have to leave this place. So then I handed in my resignation, and I left about a month later. And the funny thing is, I left it was leap year. It was actually a leap year, and I took that leap. So yeah, I left my job, and I've been basically working on this ever since, and working on my own projects, like filming projects. And yeah, luckily I saved up. So I've been living off my savings, because obviously as an artist, you know that straight away you ain't gonna get much money. You're not gonna get much money. So yeah, I've been living off my savings and just been doing random things here and there. And yeah, I left my job. So YouTube, I've been YouTubing for many, many years, you know. Not many people know. Someone actually commented on one of my pictures on Instagram, and she's like, oh, I remember your first YouTube video. I was like, you've been following me for that, like my old YouTube accounts, like damn. So I've been YouTubing, okay, properly, let's say. I post a couple of videos here and there, just stupidness, but properly, I started back school times, like maybe year 10 or 11. And I was doing things there. And then it came to when I became natural. So I went back natural in 2012, I think. So 2012, I went back to being natural, cut off all my relaxed ends and all that stuff. And I was on YouTube, as you do, just trying to find people with the same type of hair as you, trying to find what you can do to your natural hair. Because obviously, if you're relaxed for a while, you kind of forget how to look after your hair. So then I was searching, and I was like, there's not many people with my kind of hair out there. So then I thought, you know what? I can start this YouTube thing, this hair YouTube thing. Let me try it. So I stopped doing Aida Cam and all that stupidness that I was doing there. And then I thought, let's open Aida EyedahFineMe. So then that's what I started with. So I thought I didn't want to be locked up in this natural hair kind of, I didn't want to be defined to this one thing. So I wanted to have a name that kind of represented me just doing whatever I wanted to do, really. So I came up with Aida EyedahFineMe, and that was back in, I think it was 2013 when I started my YouTube under that name. And then ever since that, I've been posting hair videos, I've been going to hair events, been getting all these kind of products and stuff. And then I got to a point where I was like, this hair stuff is a bit materialistic. So I decided to cut my hair off. And just for the sake that I wanted to do it for ages, but then people kept telling me, no, you can't do it. It's gonna look bad. What if your hair what if you don't look good with your short hair, all that kind of stuff. So I just thought, you know what, I'm just gonna cut it off. And I did. And then my YouTube channel was more about black issues and embracing blackness. So my YouTube kind of took a different turn, even though I do talk about hair here and there. I did kind of start with my series, which was being black and talking about different things like organ trafficking and 90s movies and skin color and all that kind of stuff. So natural hair, yes. And watching a lot of black movies, I did a lot of that. And then, yeah, it was discussions with people, actually. That's what it is. People talking to me and being like, yeah, but I can't go natural because, you know, my hair's not like yours. I'm not mixed. I don't have white in me, kind of thing. And I just think there's a lot of people out there that live in London from the African diaspora who don't like being African, like don't like embracing their African side. Like they love to have their weaves in. They don't like having their hair out. They just rather be more European, tries to rather be more European than being who they are. Like, I can't lie, but when I go to Kenya and stuff, I'm kind of like, oh, I don't want to be here. Like, when I go with my family, I'm just like, I just want to be there for the beach. Like, I want to go there in the sun, but you would go on the farm and it's like, they're speaking a language because I can't even speak my language. My parents speak Swahili. I'm trying to learn right now, but me, I'm just there like, yeah. It's kind of uncomfortable. So I kind of understand where they're coming from. But I think it was being on YouTube and people talking about your hair texture and being like, yeah, but I can't do that because you look like that kind of thing. Like, you've got white in you, so therefore I'm not good enough. Like, yeah, that kind of topic. And I was more trying to bring us all together and realize that, yeah, I might be mixed somehow. You might be from a different part of the country, different part of the continent, sorry, and we can all kind of come together and, you know, be one and embrace what we are. And all my art tries to add some element of Africa into it and Pan-Africanism and Pan-Africanism into it. So I think it's important to have links back to Africa, because especially when you're doing contemporary art and you know that people that are in the younger generation are gonna look up to this stuff and think, yeah, this is kind of cool. Like, I'm trying to give, like, Tupac. I have a Tupac phone case, but I don't have it with me because I got a new phone. But I like to make something that will link my brother's generation to where we came from. So that's where the whole thing comes from. Like, I just want to bring us all together and realize that we should be proud of where we came from, basically. Working with kids, so teenagers, mainly 14 up, I feel like there's a lot of team light skin, team dark skin, mainly team light skin. There was this one boy in particular that used to go around like, Aida, you think you're prestige in it because you're light. I'm just like, what the hell? He's like, team light skin, team light skin. I'm like, no, we're all one, okay. So there's definitely this thing where they think that if you're light, you're better than anybody else. Especially there was this one encounter, like one moment where I was like, wow. So there's this boy who is dark skinned and he's got a white friend. They're like the best of friends that I've ever seen. And I was going around helping some other boy take photos for his photography project. And so they asked these two boys, and the white one took his picture fine, he took it, cool. Then the black one comes take his picture. He took it first time, his friend comes over, he's like, nah, all I can see is your teeth, all I can see is your teeth. So then his friend was like, oh, put the flash on, put the flash on. So I was like, oh my day. So he put the flash on and took it. He's like, oh, I look light now, I look light skinned. I'm like, what are you doing? So I'm trying to talk to them about it and be like, guys, you don't understand. But at the same time, they're at their age where they're not going to listen. They're just going to think what they think. And hopefully, eventually, they'll come out at that stage. But I feel like it's runs deeper in the boys than it does in the girls, to be honest, because I've seen quite a few boys that want to relax their hair. There's one of them in particular that was at the school that relaxed his hair. And then you just think, I wonder what... For girls, it's kind of like, you do it because, you know, your mum does it. But with the boys, they had to actually think it through and say, okay, I don't like my hair texture, my hair's too tough or whatever. Now let me go ask my mum or something and see what she says, and then maybe I can go relax it. For girls, it's more like it's a norm, but for boys to actually take that decision and take that step, I think it runs a lot deeper within the males than it does with the females. It was always the lighter skinned boys that always brought up something about, oh, I only date light girls, I wouldn't date a dark skinned girl. And there was always something going on. It was really, really frustrated me. Because obviously I'm of a lighter skin shade, so they think that I would agree with what they're saying. And I just tend to, I'm just like, no. But then again, when it comes to the older generation, I think it's kind of the same. Because so my mother, right, I've never actually spoken to her about this. When I was in secondary school, my mum went on holiday or somewhere. Then she came back and her nose changed. I was looking at her thinking, your nose wasn't like this before, right? I've never spoken to her about it, but my mum did get a nose job and I never did ask her why. Like her nose is more like mine, kind of, it was flatter before, but now it's more prominent. And I was like, wow. And I do think the older generation seem like, most of my aunties have married or gone out with lighter skinned people. My dad is mixed race. My other auntie married to a white man. My other auntie married to a Puerto Rican man. Not a lot of them are married to people of their shade or darker. And I just feel like maybe because they grew up in that time where it was a thing, but a lot of the time I feel as though they favour a lighter skinned person or a white person over a darker skinned person. And like my dad, for example, who is mixed race, he likes to say, yes, I'm coloured, with his accent. And I just sit there like, this isn't right. That's probably one of the things that got me, because if I was in the same kind of mindset as them, I'd be a completely different person. Like, I look at things and I analyse it and I think this is wrong. So then I try to do things that kind of change the way, make sure that I don't fall into that same kind of trap, if that makes sense. Yes. Hashtag behind the filter is basically, it was birthed through different conversations that I've had with people, like bloggers, natural hair bloggers and stuff. And we're kind of just talking and I'm just like, okay, I've watched some of them, like some of them I knew before I met them. So as in like I watched them online before I met them. And from watching them online, you kind of build up this kind of idea of what the person's like and what their life is like. That their life is amazing, they must be doing all this kind of things, must be so rich. But then when you meet them and you talk to them, most of the people, they still live at home with their families, they're still struggling like everybody else, they have all kind of issues going on in their lives that you would never ever know about from watching their videos. So then I thought, okay, let's just open a discussion where we can influence people, like not even just influence, where we can let people understand more about us and more about the fact that we are normal human beings who are struggling just like everybody else. We have issues, like we have mental health issues, skin issues, we struggle with the way we see ourselves, we have all kind of problems. And so I decided to go around to all the people that agreed to go to their houses and interview them about their topic. Like they basically told me a topic they want to talk about, so I go around and ask them questions. And it did get quite emotional. We had some tears, we had some like truths coming out, like people talking about shadism and talking about their life growing up and like not having that much money and talking about having mental health problems and all this kind of thing. And that's what it's all about, opening up themselves more to their viewers and to people who want to just learn more about them. And my string is, oh, it's back. Oh, it was stuck a second ago. Was that the last question?
That was the last question.
Oh, that was fun. But something that people don't tend to think of when they think of the Caribbean is the British slave trade. It's become a thing now more when you hear about reparations and stuff. But a lot of the time when we say Africa versus the Caribbean, it doesn't really make much sense because Caribbeans are African. Unless we're talking about 500, 600, 700 years ago when Taino people were ruling or were inhabitants of the Caribbean and all different kind of Native American people were there. If we're talking back then yeah, it makes sense.